John Busbee with the Culture Buzz, and joining me now is an author whose book is one of those books that, as I learn all the acronyms, and after 15 years you think I know them, but this is one that has to be on that short TBR stack of books to be read. This is so good on so many fronts. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of talking about this and that. The Lives of Diamond Bessie, and Jody Hadlock is my guest. She is the author of this gem. I have to admit, they say this is a debut novel. You have such a seasoned, experienced, and captivating voice, or series of voices and characters in your book, that it's like, okay, this is a novice. Right, no, come on. This is not her debut novel. She's written under about 12 different pseudonyms. I just don't know all them, and that's all there is to it. Jody's website, by the way, is how you can really get to know more about her. She's got a bio there. She's got a great place for book clubs. Hint, hint, hint. I know a lot of you out there are part of that. Lots of other good stuff there. Go to jodyhadlock.com, JODYHADLOCK.com, and I'll mention that in a time or two in the course of the conversation. I was drawn to your book because of the fact that it was inspired by a true 19th century murder. Okay, I'm going to let you spill the beans and kind of draw us into this conversation, Jody, if you would.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. No spoilers. I won't do that. But it is my novel has been called genre bending, so it crosses genres. It's true crime, historical mystery, but it's more of a whodunit than a whodunit. And it has a paranormal element, so it's also a ghost story. So it's got a lot going on, and it's just really the way that the story needed to be told. It wasn't that I set out to write it that way. It's so interesting when you're writing a novel how the story evolves draft after draft, and then the feedback you get, and when all the research, and it's just the book ended up it evolved in ways that I couldn't even have imagined, which is wonderful to me. I love the way that it ended up. I will say readers either love or hate the plot twist. There's been no in between whatsoever.
I love the fact that there is no dilly-dallying here. But, what you mentioned there is something that it's what's drawn me in. And, folks, I've just barely gotten into the book, so I haven't even gotten to the plot twist. So I'm as anxious to get there as you will be. What you need to do is go to your local independent bookseller and say, okay, I just heard about the Lives of Diamond Bessie. I need a copy. Jody Hadlock is its author. I need a copy. They'll make sure they get a copy in your hands. But for a writer who just has that bond with her work, you have such a great way of developing these characters that all of a sudden start kind of pulling you along, and it seems like it becomes like you are elbow and elbow locked together, and you're strolling through the story. Is this kind of what happened?
Yes, well, when I learned about the story of Diamond Bessie, it was a long time ago, and it was when my husband and I were dating. And when I learned about it, I was just immediately intrigued. I'd always wanted to write a novel, but I didn't know what I wanted to write. I also love history, so in hindsight, it's not a surprise at all that my first novel is historical. But I really feel like this may sound kind of woo-woo, but I really feel like her spirit guided me, and writing it in first person, I really had to step into her shoes. And she was a 19th century prostitute, a demi-mondaine. And I found the memoirs for 3 late 19th century prostitutes that were absolutely fascinating, that informed a lot of the scenes. And so I had to really, think about her motivations of, why did she choose that path in life, et cetera. So it was really a fascinating journey.
Well, and it's an exciting one, too. Folks, as I said, Your TBR stack needs to have one more book added to it, and that, of course, is The Lives of Diamond Bessie by Jody Hadlock. I expect you to get it. I expect you to strongly consider going to your local independent bookseller, because those are great people. They are just a vital part of our communities, and just ask for your copy of Jody Hadlock's The Lives of Diamond Bessie. Find out more about Jody, too, by going to her website, jodyhadlock.com, JODYHADLOCK.com. You can find out much more about her, and you'll say, well, seems only natural she could write something like this. But this is an exciting book for book clubs, okay? I never know what question's going to pop into my head that I'm going to ask, but explain from your perspective why you think this could be one of those just hot perking kind of books to toss into the book club mix.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think because there are so many, some things that were going on at the time of my novel that I included, the women's rights movement. There are so many things to discuss about this book. But the first one off the top of my head is the women's rights movement, which, at first when I was going to write this story, it was really within, in Bessie's limited world. But then I wanted it to be broader, in the context of what was going on in society at the time. And you have a 19th century prostitute who was a societal outcast, who became a prostitute, and mainly it was because of economics, because of the lack of rights and the few opportunities that women had. And when I learned, and there's one scene in my book where I learned that Susan B. Anthony gave a speech, her first speech on the topic of social purity, which addressed prostitution, which they refer to as the great social evil. She gave that address in 1875 in March in Chicago. And that was the same time that Bessie, my main character, was living and working at a brothel in Chicago. So I have her attend that, and she probably didn't, that probably didn't really happen, but I like to believe that she was there, cheering on this woman who was fighting for the rights of all women, including prostitutes. So there's so many things in my book that are really would be good for a book club discussion.
Well, there's a term I use when I read or when I write anything that's kind of a historical novel type thing. Is called plausible history. And that is, we can't find the proof that this happened, but it is plausible that it could have happened. So I love the fact that you did that interplay there, because it gives such a poignant, place to stick a pin in the storyline.
Yes, and I'm really glad that I did that. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I did a lot of research, and I love doing research. So and I can go down that rabbit hole and get in that trap of not writing because I'm so fascinated by the research. But when I found that out about Susan B. Anthony, and I just was I thought, wow, I have to use this. And yeah. And,
look. If the fates are going to deliver it to you, you've got to use it.
Exactly. So, and like I said, I really love the research, and of course you have to weave it in where it's engaging and it doesn't come off as being too researchy. So, which is always a balancing act.
Well, that is where your creative pen has done a masterful job, as it has with every single page in this book. The Lives of Diamond Bessie is the book we're discussing, and it is, I still can't get over this, it is Jody Hadlock's debut novel. It doesn't mean she's an inexperienced writer, far from it. She's a gifted writer. You mentioned genre bending. That is part of what the Kirkus Reviews had to say about this. A genre bending debut novel. There's an impressive deliberateness in the way that Hadlock presents her themes. The novel also skillfully uses foreshadowing to create a suspenseful atmosphere without giving the game away. and often engaging and inventive character study. Folks, hey, if you love good stories, if you love rich characters, if you love something that is just delightfully drenched in history, this is a book that you have to put on that, what did I call it? A TBR stack. You kind of, I've seen the term before. You really kind of helped me nail this. A TBR, The Lives of Diamond Bessie. It is by Jody Hadlock. You mentioned the research part, because that is something that is just like, you can get lost in the weeds of research. And after a while, you just kind of have to wrench yourself away from the research part and start the writing part, right?
Oh, yes. But what's interesting, though, is that when I started writing, and then I realized I needed to do more research, but I didn't want to stop and do research and then get back to writing. So I just, I would research what I needed to while I was writing. So I did it in combination. But that was after doing a lot of research. But I was amazed that, really on every single page of my novel, there was something that needed to be confirmed or, researched. I wanted it to be, obviously accurate. Any historical fiction author does. But, I couldn't, this is a blatant example, but, I couldn't say that she used the telephone. It wasn't invented until 1876. That's a really obvious example, but there are so many tiny little things.
Yes.
That, and somebody out there is going to read it and go, oh, nope, they didn't have sheets with that color then.
Well,
so
I love the accuracy, and that's the nice thing about what you have done, is you've given us an historical novel that we can trust. And you will enjoy the read, folks. The Lives of Diamond Bessie by Jody Hadlock. Go to your local independent bookseller, ask for a copy. Always, you can go to her website, which gives you a chance to learn more about Jody. You can order the book that way as well. jodyhadlock.com is the website. But however you do it, whenever you do it and get that copy for that TBR stack of yours. And as she said, as she was going, she found out she was writing and researching the same time. The vision I had when you mentioned that, Jody, is that you're like this literary jet that's circling the globe and has the tanker plane come up to refuel it so it can keep going. So that's the image that I had there.
That's really funny. And thank you so much for the compliment. I really appreciate that. And it just makes me so happy when, people enjoy my book. And I just wanted to write something engaging. And, so that really, it just makes my heart so happy.
Well, it's always great to have a truly engaging novel as yours. Folks, Jody Hadlock's The Lives of Diamond Bessie. Go get it. Thank you so much, Jody, for your time.
Thank you for having me.